Hollywood guilds blast Supreme Court's anti-union decision. 3 Hollywood unions slammed a Supreme Court ruling released Wednesday that sharply diminishes the power of public sector unions by allowing workers to refuse to pay union dues or fees even while receiving the benefit of union contracts, calling the ruling a shameful decision that will lead to attacks on private sector unions as well. That seems likely as a political matter. And it may be true as a legal matter too, particularly in light of the court's probable turn even further rightward when retiring Justice Anthony Kennedy is replaced. The decision in the case, called Janus v. American Federation of State, County and Municipal Employees, is grounded in First Amendment prohibitions against compelled speech and compelled association, and cites private sector examples as well as public sector. The replacement of Kennedy, who announced his retirement shortly after the union decision was handed down, will occur in the fall prior to the midterm elections, promised Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, and will be Trump's second appointment to the High Court. McConnell and Senate Republicans refused to fill a vacancy that occurred during the last year of Obama's term, teeing up, among other things, the 5-4 decision in Janus after an earlier case resulted in a 4-4 deadlock due to the vacancy. We should harbor no illusions about this terrible decision. It was the product of raw power politics, not constitutional deliberation, said the Writers Guild of America East in a statement. The Janus decision is part of a cynical scheme, which included the U.S. Senate's stunning refusal to consider a nominee to replace Antonin Scalia in 2016, to deprive public sector labor organizations of the basic ability to sustain themselves, financially. Added the statement, score one for the plutocrats, who have won an ugly victory at the expense of the people who build our roads and teach our children and fight our fires. The court made the wrong decision, a decision in favor of increasing the power of employers at the expense of their workers, said SAG-AFTRA President Gabrielle Cardenas. This ruling is a direct attempt to weaken unions, the very organizations who allow workers to speak together as one, to have a voice in their wages, their safety at work, and their healthcare and retirement. The Janus decision not only allows workers not to pay dues or so-called agency fees to a public sector union, it also requires that no agency fees, non-member, or financial core, fees in lieu of dues, be collected without the non-member's affirmative consent. Structuring the requirement as an opt-in rather than an opt-out is likely to further diminish such payments. IATSE's president warned that private sector employees would be next. Soon, all working people, not just those in the public sector, will face the ramifications of the Supreme Court's actions, in the form of diminished bargaining rights and weaker contracts, said Matthew Delope, the union's international president. But he vowed to fight. We didn't need permission to fight back against the robber barons of the Gilded Age, and we do not need it to fight back against the robber barons of today. Private sector unions, including those in entertainment and sports, have good reason to fear that they will be the next target, said Greenberg-Glusker's Daniel Stone, a management-side labor attorney who was previously assistant general counsel at the Directors Guild of America. Indeed, the use of private sector scenarios in Janus suggests that conservatives may build on the decision to attack private sector unions too. But there is a political channel open too, with control of both houses of Congress, the White House and the courts. Little would seem to prevent Republicans from pushing yet again for nationwide right-to-work legislation, which would have virtually the same effect on private sector unions as the Janus decision has on public sector labor organizations. Heavily unionized Hollywood is something of an anomaly, since union jobs only constitute about 6.5% of private sector jobs in all, much lower than the public sector figure of 34.4%. Both of those figures have been declining for decades, and that trend seems likely to accelerate now. When and how that red wave will reach Hollywood is unknown. Read the full statements from SAG-AFTRA, IATSE and WGA East below. The DGA, WGA West and American Federation of Musicians had no comment for this article.